Hi,
Hi.
how are you?
I'm okay. Hanging in
Yeah,
there. Ah,
I
like,
love all the Legos behind you. I'm so jealous.
thank you. I wish I could get reimbursed from Lego from all of them. The amount of money I've given to them in the last 6 months is obscene.
You should become an influencer, and you should do really fun posts and get them to monetize you.
Honestly, with the way that things are going in my field right now, that's probably not a bad idea.
Uh, Nothing's forever, my friend.
I know. I'm finding that out the hard way. I might need to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up.
Oh, no, I meant nothing's forever the other way.
Oh, well,
Not
that.
that nothing, yeah, no, not in a negative way, in a positive way.
Suck it
Bad things
up,
happen and
Bob.
then good
That's
things
what you're
happen
saying.
again. Hey, Nick.
Hey.
So I know that Katie and Jennifer both said that they were coming, so we should have a full complement of everyone this evening. Um, Jennifer said that she was calling in from the road, I think. Um, and so we'll give Katie just another minute or two.
I think Kate
Bros.
froze, yes.
Oh, but she looks so happy, frozen.
I know. Usually the frozen one, you don't usually get a good one.
No, it's usually the least flattering face you've ever made in your
Yes.
life is what ends up being frozen. Oh, there she is.
Hi, I'm back. My internet went
Hi,
out.
she's back.
I, I missed everything that was said when my internet froze. So,
We
We
were just
were,
saying cheerful, positive things about the world and its future.
and that your frozen profile picture was like really good one.
Yeah,
And
you
then
were frozen
usually
like
everyone's you were like happy and smiling. Usually it's like, the worst picture possible.
that tells me the Invisalign is paying off.
Link took me
So I
to.
just want, I know we're not officially starting yet, but I took a look at the stuff for the LWRP for the regulation. So, we should be good on that. And I took a look at the application for 28 Park. Are they coming tonight?
I'm hoping they are,
Oh,
but
really?
well, I think Jamie usually sends everybody the information so that there's if there's any questions. So we shall see.
Okay.
It
And
didn't seem like
and
there was a
Oh,
whole.
here's
oh,
Dr. Ramirez.
and
Awesome.
I
And then
hate to be
Katie
the
just
bearer
emailed.
of bad news, but this is my final year before I have to step down. So so I want to make sure that moving forward, I keep on track of things. I have been really horribly scatterbrained in the last few months, especially with going through things dealing with my son's care. So I'm trying to balance everything, and I'm dropping too many balls at this point. So I have to figure out the next year, but I also want to make sure that transitioning with the EAC, however the next year goes, that it's a smooth transition and that I'm here to be supportive and helpful, even when I'm not in the role anymore, if there are questions and things that I can help with. So I still will be around, but I recognize that soon I will need to kind of step back from some of the official capacity. But that's to be
Uh,
discussed in the future. Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, you've dropped nothing. You're doing amazing. We're also proud of you.
You're
You're
good.
doing
Don't make
great.
me cry. This is an official
Okay.
meeting.
Don't cry. I know Katie's struggling a little bit to
Yeah.
get in. But I wanted to welcome Dr. Jennifer Ramirez, who I think is the EAC's newest member. I don't think I've had the pleasure. So I know we've corresponded via email. It's very nice to meet you.
It's great to see you all. I know I missed I think a couple meetings here and there. It was a
It's
little
great to
hard
have you.
getting started, but I'm here.
And you're a doctor in what?
I have a PhD in public and urban policy.
Oh,
Did
very
you go to
nice.
the new school?
Yeah.
Me too. You went to Milano?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, get out of here. That's amazing. I graduated in
Milano.
2010.
Oh, nice. Milano alums here.
I don't know if is it still called Milano? I know they've tried to switch the name like 30 times.
No, it still exists, but I think this might be its last year. They're merging with NSSR. So
Got
they're
it. Oh,
doing a lot.
I'm so happy. I've never met any alum of my program who
I
wasn't
still
there
work
when I
there.
was there.
I still work at the new school. I work for the Tishman Environment and Design Center at the new school. And
That's
we're actually on
incredible.
our work retreat. So I just landed literally like, maybe less than 2 hours ago, into Miami where we're having our work retreat.
Oh, fun, fun.
At least it's Miami.
Yeah, I know. At first I was like, Miami, but I'm actually happy because it's a little warmer than it is obviously in New York, so it's nice.
I
Yeah.
have a few students from Miami, so I love hearing the stories that they come to class with. It just adds a great piece of conversation to a lot of things when we talk about climate change and environmental impacts and policy. So it's like Miami is one of those cool cities that we can talk about with like the impacts on infrastructure. So it's I'm a little jealous that you're there.
Yeah. I mean, we have partners all over the country. So I was wondering why we picked in Miami for our retreat. Yeah. We will be I'll be in LA with partners next month. Um, and I was like, why Miami? But I'm not I'm not complaining
Not
about it
complaining.
now after this latest cold snap.
I'll be
So
in, yep, go ahead.
no, please go ahead, Kate.
I was gonna say I'll be in San Francisco next month for the annual American Association of Geographers meeting. So part of what I like to do when I go is to attend sessions that are really helpful for things that we do here, just to see what other places are also working on and what kind of initiatives they're taking. So I find doing these things kind of fun, but also really educational and just great.
Oh, there, Katie. Okay. I was gonna check if UUFNW Fellowship was our very own Katie, but it
Well,
is.
I'm sorry, I should have changed my account. I was using,
No, don't not to worry. We're
yeah,
all just having like some group therapy and just like shaking off the first month of the year here, so it's all good. We're all just coming as we are.
hard to shake.
Yeah.
I can change my name.
Hey, no talking bad about January. It's the best month out there.
What have you been smoking?
And that's a great segue into tonight's
Our
conversation.
agenda. Yes, yes.
She's testing the new
Well,
stores.
nothing. I've been smoking nothing. But I only say that because I just have a partial affinity to it because it's a birthday month for me.
Well,
So
Oh,
that's
well.
fine.
It's birthday month. You
Yes,
got
Happy
it's the best
birthday.
birthday month ever.
yes.
That's why one day I'm going to go to the tropics for it.
All right.
And on that note,
All right. Chair, are you ready to call the meeting to order?
yes, let's do it. Hi, everyone. This is the Environmental Advisory Council meeting for the Village of Ossining for February 3rd, 2026. Chairperson Schlott here, and Nick.
Councilperson Nick Tedrow, present. Popcorn Katie. You gonna
Katie,
Amy Alberti, member of the council here.
and Dr. Ramirez.
Present.
Would you prefer that we refer to you as your
Just
first name
Jen is
constantly?
fine. Jen
Okay.
is fine. Jen is fine.
I know we're having a little fun with it, but after a
Yeah.
while it might, not sure
Yeah,
how you
Jen
feel
is
about
fine.
it. All right.
Um,
So oh, yeah,
no, I was just gonna say I can bring up the agenda,
wonderful.
so we can get started.
Hmm?
And can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
All right.
All right.
So,
So
do you want me to give an introduction to what it is that we're looking to do for the village? Maddie, if you wouldn't mind opening up maybe the use table, I think that's probably, let's start with that.
Sure thing.
Okay. So the village, as some of you might know, um, the village already has one cannabis retail dispensary down by the train station. We have another one coming in where the old Ossining, the old Ossining bakery was located. And then there's a third one coming in at 345 North Highland Avenue. So, based on those three, we started also getting some additional inquiries for more cannabis retail. And at that point, we thought, you know what, maybe we need to take a step back and relook at where does the village maybe want to have the cannabis retail dispensaries. One of the things that when the village first opted into the cannabis retail dispensary program, at that point in time, there were certain regulations I mean, the state regulations, the interpretation of some of the state regulations, especially dealing with distance requirements, when the village board reviewed whether to opt in or opt out of the cannabis retail dispensaries regulations based on the state requirements, there seemed to be limited areas in which retail dispensaries could basically get established. And at that point in time, they felt that based on the limitations that they felt, okay, so there might be some, but it's not going to be like a tremendous amount of dispensaries coming into the village. Since that time period, the state has revised on its interpretation and dealt with amendments to its regulations, which now really restricts the distances between the cannabis retail dispensary and like places of worship and schools. It's now the interpretation of those distances is very liberal, and so to some extent there's a lot more properties that could potentially have cannabis retail. And then in addition to that, where at some point in time, the state was regulating like community centers and other types of facilities as areas in which, there would be distance requirements. And that has now since ceased as well. And they revised those regulations to specifically say it has to be places for youth, and it's 18 years, and I mean younger than 18 years old. So if you have a facility that has a combination of like adult programming and children programming, it doesn't count. So because of all of this, originally the adult cannabis retail dispensaries were considered just retail. But now the village board decided, you know what, we actually want to take a look at this, maybe create its own use, and then limit maybe where it can actually be applied within the village. In addition, they also wanted to take a look at vape shops and some of the paraphernalia shops that can sometimes also pop up. And there's a number of them also already in the village. And the concern was, again, that over establishment of those types of uses throughout the village. So one of the things with the state regulations requirements are you cannot make it so restrictive that it becomes, impossible for those uses to actually enter into a community, especially if you opt in, because theoretically you're getting some sort of share of any of the tax benefits. And so you also have to then be able to have those establishments actually be able to come into your community. So part of our analysis was looking at where do we already allow retail? Where are the cannabis shops already located? And then what are some of the other zoning districts that maybe we won't necessarily want those to be located? And so the village board has decided that because there's the three existing shops, two of them are along Route 9 and one of them's down by the train station, that maybe continuing to allow those zoning districts that already exist along Route 9 and down by the waterfront, and then also along Croton Avenue, those could remain within and permitted for cannabis retail dispensary. But the downtown area, which is a different zoning district, to exclude that from cannabis retail. A couple of things for that is that, part of it is that, there's parking, people tend to drive to the cannabis retail, not to say everybody does, but there is certain, it's a little bit more of a turnover, kind of like a 7-Eleven type of scenario. And then also, I think the concern was that, there's just a lot of businesses in the downtown, and they really wanted to kind of not necessarily have additional cannabis retail there as well. So that's sort of the premise of like what we're looking at for tonight. Um, this requires a local waterfront revitalization consistency review. So I think it's going to be a little bit of an interesting review in comparison to this, but because this requires changes in use in zoning districts, it does require a review for the LWRP. So the zoning table that we provided has both the adult use cannabis retail dispensary as well as the vape shops. And for the most part, we're allowing them in many of the districts, but excluding them from the VC, which is the village center, the office and research, which is like some of the bigger properties along Route 9, and then also the conservation development district and this planned waterfront center. Both of the Conservation Development District is mostly residential, and the planned waterfront center is located also in the downtown area and mostly residential. And then the regulations that we provided you specifically focus on, specifically noting the state's restrictions. We are also proposing to have those same restrictions for both places of worship and schools to be applied for the vape shops as well. And also just acknowledging that where we have some parks that specifically are just playground only, that we are considering them also as places of youth. I think that's pretty much summarizes the major changes. So happy to
I
take
know
any
we
questions
did-
on this, and then you can always go through your LWRP review.
Yeah. I was to say, I know we did an LWRP review like a while ago. I think when we first passed the ordinance, and that was an interesting going through the checklist with that because there were a lot of things, and I think kind of what I picked up on earlier too with going through it that at the moment aren't applicable. But I think that
Right.
if we were to have businesses open up in those areas would have to be reviewed. So there were some things that definitely are a case by case kind of basis
Yes.
thing. So this will be, so this will be kind of interesting to see how we, that all language all comes to play here. Katie, yes.
Actually, two things. First, I thought the one we reviewed was for the grow, the
Yes,
growing.
it was the growing. That's
Yeah,
correct.
which is a different deal because it's
Yes.
got a lot of
Right. Yeah, that was
smells
the
and
cultivation one, indoor
cultivation.
cultivation.
Yeah, different deal. I read through this and it all made sense to me. I didn't go through the LWRP review. I know to be picky, I did notice one thing in terms of the actual ordinance. The hours for, I guess, both the cannabis dispensaries and the other shops. There's something in there about that they shall not close after 11 p.m. And I think that the intention was they shall not stay open after 11 p.m.
Can we pull that up? Because if that's an error, we want to catch that. Okay.
Yeah. Right, here you go. Shall, unless
Oh,
it
no, it
gets
says
changed.
no, shall not, no adult use cannabis dispensary shall operate before 8 a.m. or after 11 p.m.
Yeah, that's right. So is there a different definition for the vape shops and the paraphernalia shops? That may be where I picked it up.
It's
Okay,
worded
so
differently in the two
slide down.
sections.
That's it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you're right. Thank
Paragraph
you.
two. Yeah, I
Yes.
think you probably want exactly the same language in both because that the first one made so much more sense.
Yes, we will fix that. Thank you for
Eagle
catching that.
Eye
Absolutely.
Alberti over here. Good,
Yes.
good
Yeah.
catch.
We don't want them open all night.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I'll make that note.
I know we're not here to
I'll let
talk.
Stuart know that. Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Sorry, Nick, what were you saying?
Nothing. I know we're not here to talk about the ordinance itself. I haven't really been following it, but I probably should have been now reading through this a little bit. I'm just trying to figure out what a person with a normal sense of smell is. I'll save my questions for tomorrow.
I mean, part of the problem, and I've had people approach me about this at times in public, where the smell is the concern. Um, the problem with it, a lot of it, is that once someone leaves the shop, we can't control what they do. And a lot
Yeah.
of it really is just people walking out in public or sitting in their backyard or however they're doing it on their private property often at times. So some of what people might be smelling and complaining about sometimes is not at the fault of the dispensary.
And the business
So it's like
about that.
it's like that fine line of like, how do we handle that without being prohibitive, as Valerie, you were saying before, of like keeping them from being able to operate? Because that's not really on them if there's private
Right.
consumption.
Yeah. And it's all like retail, so it's all packaged. It's not. There's
Yeah.
no odor coming. You can walk in the shop and not smell anything, but
Right. Exactly.
um,
Other than that typo, I didn't have further comment because it all seemed uh, it seemed well drafted and sensible.
Thank you.
I just had a quick question on distance for house of worship. Are we
Yes.
treating it all as 500 feet? Because I was
So,
curious, I looked it up and I saw a different thing, which is fine. I personally don't see an issue with it, but I was just curious, just in case someone might pick up on a difference.
so the state requires the 500 feet, and the state does not allow communities to have a distance greater than 500 feet.
Okay.
So the distances between the schools and the house of worships and the community youth facilities are all state regulated, and that's something that the village does not have any control over.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I saw there was one where it specifically highlighted schools, but then left off house of worship. But that makes total sense. Okay. Should we go? Was there anything else that anybody picked up on? Because I did not see anything, but I agree. This was um really
Okay,
clear. Yeah.
one thing that I'll just note, the vape shops and smoke shops, those are not
Hmm.
regulated by the state. So the village has more control over those. And so that's where you might see a little bit of difference from the cannabis regulations because
Okay.
the village board decided they specifically picked those distances um and they had the ability to pick those distances where the cannabis is specifically regulated by the state on the distances.
Okay. Okay. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. And if anything, I think having, just going with what the state does for the dispensaries as a default, I think makes the most sense. Even for consistency, whether it's the vape shop versus a dispensary. So, but okay, that makes sense. Um, all right. So should we run through the LWRP so that we can get this stuff
Yes.
filled in? All
I
right.
have do you want me to share my screen? I have the checklist in case like that might be helpful to everybody.
Sure.
Okay.
While she's pulling it, does anyone know what a person of normal smell sense? What can anyone explain that to me? I,
I was trying to figure out why it was worded that way, but I can see that it would, if there are people who don't have a good sense of smell or who don't have a any sense of smell, and I think the intent was that their criteria not be used as the defining um, standard. And
I don't know if like the
hard
building
that
department has like a smelling, team or something that will go out and assess the
it,
smell complaint.
I'm sure it'll be subject to that sort of fine distinction, just as you know, noise abatement
So,
and
so we don't
complaints
want to
about
hire
smell.
a super taster in this
Uh,
Right.
case, is what you're saying, because they will also have a very heightened sense of smell and will pick up on that.
Nor do you want the owner of the shop to send their uh, 10-year-old who has a stuffy nose out to check it out,
True.
it's a dangerous precedent putting a smell precedent out there because then anyone who smells anything in the air and doesn't like it might have to take it up with the board.
Well, basically, it's trying to uh, set a standard of
I
what
I
what
get what the hall monitor is trying to get. I'm sorry. I digress. I will shut up.
It's an interesting question to ask because it does become subjective, but that's not really what we can figure out, but it is subjective in its interpretation.
If it comes up in our checklist, I will bring it back up.
Would you like me to just like fill out the checklist for the EAC as you go through the different? Okay.
Yeah, sure. That would
right.
that would be really helpful because I wrote some stuff down, but I don't have it in a file to share at the moment. Um, and there I and maybe other people can verify with me too on some of these, but I felt like there were a lot of things at the moment that were not applicable because they were dealing directly with waterfront issues
Yes,
and
yes. And
marina
that's
things.
one of
So
the, I guess that's one of the, I'm going to say the downfalls of the LWRP program is that in general, like when the LWRPs were first developed by communities, they included like much broader areas. And then over time, the state has been kind of directing these policies for very specific policies. So they develop the policy. So sometimes you get into the situation where something like this does require LWRP review, but a lot of it might not necessarily be applicable to the specific policies, which therefore then means that they would be consistent with the LWRP because you're basically,
okay.
you know, but we
Okay,
can,
that's actually really good to know because I know in the past when we've done LWRP reviews, we've often said something was not applicable. But I think in terms of that, that actually is really helpful because that will be help us be more thorough in the checklist too, just for administrative
yeah, because when
purposes.
something's not applicable, theoretically, then that is not inconsistent. You know what I mean? So that whatever it is, like, if it's, for example, if it's a law or if it's another project and it's not applicable, then therefore it's not inconsistent in the part of the whole thing. And they call it a
Okay.
consistency review, but just at the end of the day, are the policies being, is there a detriment to any of the policies based upon like moving that particular project forward?
Okay. All right. So I want to give Katie, Jen, and Nick an opportunity to read through the checklist really quick and let me know what you think as well as we go through it. But at the moment, from what I was looking through, it looked like everything on page one was consistent, but I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything.
This is with the understanding that we don't have an actual location. This is like hypothetically, just like if they're in alignment with this, with the
Yes.
checklist.
Right.
Yes.
So your location is anywhere within those zoning districts.
Yeah,
If this law was adopted for retail, for retail cannabis, would that law be inconsistent with like the LWRP policies?
gotcha.
And help me envision where they are located. They wouldn't be downtown and they wouldn't be in part of the waterfront area, correct?
It would
Right.
be mostly, yeah, it would mostly be able to take, have retail cannabis dispensaries in the waterfront areas, right? So along the Hudson River, like the
Uh-huh.
downtown area, the Station Plaza area,
Yeah.
and then also along Route 9 and then Croton Avenue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But Croton Avenue is outside of the
Right.
LWRP boundary, right? Route 9 is within it.
Right. Well, switch. So if we start with the first one and kind of ponder on what the effect the cannabis dispensary will have, whether it promotes it, it works against it, or it won't have much of an effect, making to restore, revitalize, and redevelop deteriorated and underutilized waterfront area for commercial, industrial, cultural, recreational, and other compatible uses, including increasing public access to the waterfront. It's not a home run in terms of making it a wonderful place, but I don't think they would, um, as long as they're spaced out appropriately, I don't think they would be um, make having a significant deleterious effect. And I don't know, what
Right.
does anyone else think?
I
Well,
agree. I
oh, go
think
ahead.
I think if it's a matter of like development of new property, maybe it would be a case by case basis based on like what they built, but
Right.
otherwise it doesn't apply.
Well,
Like,
Oh,
well, it doesn't have an impact, let's say.
so
the tricky
this would
part here
be
is like it's a positive or a negative now, where we're limiting the zoning areas, which a subset of this now, like some of the applicable area, it's allowed development, and now with the new zoning rule, some of this area it's not allowed. And uh, I don't
but in
have
terms of
I don't have
where
the
it's
visualization of the
I
zoning,
mean,
like those spots.
we're only really considering the waterfront though, right? Or like are
For
we
this
no, no, so
also
this
particular
is this
Well,
in
this
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 case,
one, right, this one specifically refers to waterfront areas.
waterfront,
So,
yeah.
right,
right.
right,
So if we're
right,
looking at this just in the sense of commercial vitalization, develop, trying to reclaim underutilized or dilapidated buildings, this would be something, in my opinion, that would be consistent at least with that kind of restoration.
yeah,
Barring whether it's a kind of business people would prefer to have or not, it's more about whether it's actually consistent with what is being expected. Um, for the for
So
for
I'll,
sorry, economic
yeah. I can buy
development.
that.
Yes.
I think that's
okay.
So
true. The second
yeah.
one is definitely not applicable.
Yeah.
One
I'll
A,
put that.
one A is not applicable.
So we would say that that is consistent then. I think we want to be, that was what we were saying, Valerie, before, that we want to be careful with the
I,
language.
Right. So for this one, I mean, this one is specifically just not applicable. I would agree with that. I mean, because that
yeah,
talks about Sing Sing prison
Yeah.
property
right.
and,
And this, we are never going to put a cannabis, well, let me not be try to make a joke here.
No, no, I,
It's just not, we're not talking about the Sing Sing prison
right.
property
right.
here.
Right. I know when we did the cultivation ordinance that it did come up in conversation at that time, but that is a different thing than what we're working on with this.
Right,
And we know that that is never going to
right,
happen.
right.
So one B, continue to revitalize the crescent. So this is I know there was a part where it was saying that in the village center that dispensaries and vape shops would be not permitted. Right. So I was trying to find it on the map, but it's not listed. So where exactly is the village center? Or what is labeled as the village center on the zoning map?
I can pull up
Okay.
the zoning map.
Oh, you can? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one
Valerie,
of
I
the
think you need to
things,
stop sharing.
Because
oh,
I
I'm
just want to make
sorry.
sure that is consistent with the crescent aspect of this question and that
Yes,
I'm not,
yeah, the village
yeah,
center will be in the Crescent. Now, one of the reasons, let me just give a little more explanation. One of the reasons they were concerned with, trying to limit in some of the zoning districts
oh,
is
I see it
also
now.
the
Thank you.
fact that we were getting so many that there was a concern that it was going to be an oversaturation
Hmm.
of the cannabis, retail, and then that was going to then cause a situation where some of the current retail businesses could potentially go under. Because at some point, like right now, like the market at some point is going to get saturated. There's many other communities, even neighboring communities, that also have cannabis retail as well. So that was the concern, and and the board kept getting additional requests for more cannabis. I mean, I can think of at least 3 or 4 other properties that people were coming in and saying that they potentially might put cannabis retail within the village, right? So it wasn't just like one other one. So the thought was, well, maybe at some point this is becoming a little bit too much.
But does the village have the like, is it a case by case basis where they can say like we've kind of hit our max? I don't know what
No,
the
that's the thing. So once you in
no.
zoning, once you allow it, that somebody has the right to put it in, even if it's.
Oh, gotcha.
And
Okay.
Valerie,
I didn't know if it was
Sure.
more
I'm sorry, go
controlled
ahead,
than that.
Jennifer.
No, I wasn't sure if it was more controlled than that. Like they would have to go, each case would have to go before the board first.
Well, so yes and no. So I just want to make sure, sort of like taking a few steps back out of this, very intensive view at what is your purview, which is the LWRP, which is basically everything that's west of Route 9 in the village, right? So everything on that side of Route 9. Um, New York State, as Valerie sort of explained earlier, basically gave all of New York State communities the opportunity to opt in or opt out on 2 different elements of cannabis licensing. The Village of Ossining opted in for adult use dispensaries and opted out for the on-site consumption lounges. So we have been one of the communities out of all of Westchester that opted in for the adult use cannabis dispensaries, and we've gotten quite a few applications. What we I don't want to say what we didn't understand at the beginning, but I will say that the rules have changed. The goalposts have changed a bit, and I think New York State would be the first to admit. So basically, once you've said yes, you've said yes, and there are very few circumstances under which you can sort of limit the degree to which you open your arms and embrace this particular land use. So time, place, and manner is something that we are allowed to sort of put boundaries around, and that's what we've been trying to work on very delicately here. So just to sort of give that little bit of context, because the state has been quite firm that says once you allow it, you can't say, well, we can only have one per square mile or one per every 10,000 residents. It's sort of like a light switch. It's off and on, and once it's on, it's on.
And by not opting in at that time, right, you would have had to pass a referendum in order to actually allow for it later on or something, or take it to a vote to the community.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a big decision. I remember when I was working at SW, I was going to town hall meetings and this was preceding me, and there would be lots of people there. So it was quite a big deal at the time.
Yeah, and when we went through that process, it wasn't a little like process for us. There was a lot of conversation that went into it. There was a lot of
I
public
do
debate.
remember that.
Yeah, so this was not a little undertaking. Not to ever say that it is, but it's how we went through it.
Yeah.
We really did do our best, I think, as a community to really hear people out and have that conversation. But it was at the time, I think, very tricky territory because we all were kind of learning as we were going.
Well, yeah, and if you said like the New York State changed the rules a little bit or made it more broader in terms of allowances, that changes the information that was received.
A lot of folks in the community aren't happy with as many vape
Yeah.
shops. Let's just
Yeah.
be
I mean, I was happy that Ossining actually opted in, but
This
it
has
is like
been,
at some point when you have like a dispensary in every corner, yeah, like not great.
When
so
does value
I
start
think,
being at diminishing returns? Maybe
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Well,
You don't
but
get
that goes back to what Valerie was saying about the particular item on the LWRP we were looking at, the effect on the crescent, et cetera, et cetera. I think the um, zoning exclusion works to carry out that particular item. You know what I mean? By paying attention to the appropriate mix of businesses and in the Crescent and the downtown area, I think it is consistent with the LDWRP.
Yeah, without passing judgment on the logic and validity
Yeah.
of that that premise itself, if the village decided that's the reasoning, then that makes sense as a consistent criteria. Then, if that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the next
Mhm.
I'm gonna go back to sharing my screen.
you would think they'd cannibalize each other out of the cannabis shops if there were so
Then
many.
you'd wind up with a whole lot of empty shops downtown, which we do not want.
Right.
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 Maybe
Okay.
one
Right.
C is also consistent. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah,
so.
Yes, because that would be within.
Mhm.
Oh,
Wonders, no,
Okay, so 1D is
yeah,
kind of like a
not
not
applicable.
really
yeah,
applicable.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah. 1E as well,
not
because we're
applicable.
not, yeah, we're not doing anything on the old Croton Aqueduct.
Right. Then one,
Number 2,
it's not facilitating the citing water dependent uses and facilities. So either it's inconsistent or not applicable. But I think maybe no is an honest answer, but it doesn't. What do you think? Either
Well, we
no or
could
not applicable.
caveat it. We can if you want to say no, but it's because that this is not water dependent. But it wouldn't preclude what like it doesn't take away from the ability to have abundant uses down there.
That's true.
If you
That
want
is
me
Essentially,
to
true.
put
like a
something
no
like that.
impact activity, right?
Yeah.
so I guess we could say it's consistent and then as a note say no impact to wait, Nick, what you were saying to what was it, coastal waters. And 2A, I would say think would be similar to that, either being not applicable or putting a consistent with that caveat as well. I mean, we're
It's
not
really,
doing anything on prison land, and this isn't even going near Sparta Brook.
but I think it's pretty much non-applicable.
Okay. You want me to
Yeah.
put that there? Okay.
We know 3 and 4 are not applicable. Number 5, encourage the location of development in areas where public services and facilities essential to such development are adequate, except when such development has special functional requirements or other characteristics which necessitate its location in other coastal areas. Um, I would say it's
I,
consistent.
I think it's consistent. Yeah. It's a store. There's electricity,
Mhm.
water, sewer. Yeah.
Number 6, in this case, this doesn't seem like something that's applicable because we're not really going through permitting procedures
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
this.
I agree.
Mhm. And then, let's see, so
Plus,
to be,
all right.
what's what?
Oh, I was just thinking it's not really much of a development activity. Um,
Okay, so number 7, so this is
definitely not
dealing with,
applicable.
yeah,
Definitely not applicable.
number 7, 7A, and 7B. Also, even if we're looking at it, um, just from a environmental perspective on this, a lot of the area around there it's prohibited anyway, when we look at the
Yeah.
zoning.
Yeah.
Number 8 as well.
Mhm.
NA, right?
Yeah.
NA, yeah, I would say
Yeah.
either NA or applicable or consistent, excuse me.
I think that the process of protecting the fish and wildlife resources would be more um, embedded in other types of review of other types of development. I mean, this is sort of at the, um, it's not gonna,
Probably,
yeah,
I was gonna say probably more like the building of a new structure or something that's
yeah,
really going
yeah,
to disturb the
right,
land and the soil and any potential stream disturbance.
right. I agree.
Number number 9, expanding recreational use of fish and wildlife resources in coastal areas by increasing access to resources. This is something that I don't know if this would be applicable.
I don't think I
No,
would.
no,
No.
this wouldn't be applicable. Sorry,
And
hang
then
on
the
one.
number 10 has to deal with fishing resources, and I don't think this is applicable either.
Oh, okay, yeah, those were not applicable. So we're at 13A. Okay,
Yeah, I don't think that's,
yeah,
it
this is
isn't
not
about new
applicable.
construction. Yeah,
Although it would be nice if they could prevent erosion.
it would.
Even with 14
And
and
15
15, yeah,
and
these are
16
yeah, and 16.
and 17.
Yeah,
Again, because this is not involving new construction
yeah,
per se.
Right.
right. And I think if if this was something that was an actual business opening up, we would review this again anyway.
Mhm.
Yes,
If
if
there
there
was
was
a
like
Route 9.
something major, right? If there was like let's just say a large retail building coming in, right? Because like if it's already moving into an existing building, you didn't see some of the other ones because it didn't fall within your
Right.
purview
Right.
because it didn't rise to that, But if there's somebody's going to
But
do
if
a cannabis emporium, 100,000 square feet,
Right.
you
if
would
they're
definitely
doing
see
kind of
it.
like what they're doing with the place that's now going to be at the old Ossining Bakery, where they had to do wall retention, expanding the
Yes,
building,
exactly,
Right.
exactly.
redoing
Right.
the
Yes,
parking
that would
lots,
be in front of you. Yes,
that would be in front
Yeah.
of us.
yes,
But
Yeah.
because that was on the other side of Route 9, we didn't see
right.
it. But
Right.
that would be an example of something that I think would be definitely within this conversation
Yes,
of erosion, flood control, um, and the like.
Yeah.
absolutely.
18
Yeah.
also, I think is also not applicable.
And I wonder, like, I was thinking, if
Mhm.
someone were willing to like do huge remediation to really improve a building or put up a new building, but the intent behind it was to build a cannabis thing.
But,
That would be
but
kind of,
then
They're
that would,
doing it at the Ossining
yeah,
Bakery.
yeah,
yeah.
no, but I guess, I mean, in terms of it enhancing value, whatever, going back some, I don't know,
Right.
taking because I'm just musing over this now in my head as we're going through.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
Nick, here's the deal. Right now, we're reviewing the ordinance. We're not reviewing the project.
No, I know.
We're
Well, I'm
just
thinking
talking
about it in the
about
context of the
the-
ordinance, though, because then it
Right.
would just be blotted out from, certain
Yeah.
sites, considering it even in the first place,
Right.
virtue of the ordinance zoning or the
Do you
zoning.
do you think number 18 is not applicable? I'm kind of wondering if that would be consistent. Because in this case, we're looking at the economic interests of the state. And I'm just thinking more of the language of what we were
It's
saying about the
true.
opting in. Once you opt in, you can't decide to
Right.
add extra regulations. So I'm wondering if in this case, whether this would actually be something we can say is applicable, even though we're not dealing with waterfront access directly, we're still dealing with coastal areas, but that could potentially have
Well, but
a
here's where
dispensary.
I would disagree. If you look at the second line there, it says proposed major actions in the coastal area must, and then it says to protect valuable coastal research areas. These, again, this, as it's written, does not encompass a major action in the coastal area. These are retail. What we're doing is establishing where these retail dispensaries can be, which would not have, which are not major actions. Um, and again, if someone came in and proposed cannabis are us in a, 50,000 square foot warehouse, or, where, the Walmart of cannabis, then we would review it as a major coastal action, I think. Or if they wanted
If
to dredge,
it's west of Route 9.
exactly, then we get to play with it.
Yeah. Sorry if you hear my child screaming in the background. And then so I guess in this case if you feel comfortable not applicable, great. Works for me.
Oh, I thought that's where we were going. Sorry.
Yeah, no,
I
that
just use
works.
it.
That works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so number 19, I would say also is not applicable because we're not dealing with public water related recreation in this case.
Someone could be grumpy and say, well, if there's a cannabis dispensary there, we don't have water related. It might bump out water related recreation. In reality,
Also,
that is not the case. I,
mhm.
I don't know, taking up space. But
Yeah,
in reality, I'm just trying to read this critically, kind of aloud, and I apologize for thinking aloud. But in its practical application, again, providing allowing this type of use doesn't per se eliminate any recreational activity. So sorry for making a speech, but I agree it's not applicable or consistent. It could be consistent.
We have a hard stop at 8. I just want to mention that. Sorry.
Oh, so didn't even realize what time it was. I've been having this problem lately. So number 19A, B, and C, these are also not applicable. 19D,
Yeah.
19E,
Yeah.
20,
Not applicable.
not applicable. 20A is not applicable. 21 is not applicable. This does not deal with water dependent or water enhanced recreation. Um, 22.
Again, we are allowing the ordinance would allow them along the shore, correct?
Mm-hmm. Or at
But
least within the
within the district, I
within
would say
district.
it's, I think we could be proactive and say it's consistent.
For number 19?
For number 22, is that one
Oh,
we're on?
22. Sorry. Yes, 22.
Yeah, because while having a cannabis shop does not preclude, as I was debating for, does not preclude um, water dependent
Recreation,
activity,
Mhm.
recreation.
So we'll say that it is consistent. 22A,
Not applicable.
not applicable. That is also a prohibited use on that site, as it stands. Number 23, protect, enhance, restore structures, districts, areas, or sites that are of significance in the history, architecture, archaeology, or culture of the state, its communities, or the nation. I mean, unless someone's going to start going on about the history of hemp agricultural production, I'm not sure if it's going to be applicable, but yeah.
It could be considered in a sense consistent because there's no reason
Mhm.
you couldn't have a cannabis dispensary or a vape shop and have a sensitive construction of a building or maintain it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't see it as being inconsistent.
or even having decorations that talk about the history of the building and the area and contribute
Exactly.
to some
It
of
could,
that. Yeah.
yeah, it could be done and provide some rent, you know.
I would say hope for the future that maybe a dispensary might be cool with doing something like that. We know 24 is not applicable. Number 25, um, so restore, protect, restore, enhance natural and man-made resources, which are not identified as being part of statewide significance, but contribute to the overall scenic quality of the coastal area. In a, I guess, weird way, we could say it's applicable. Because if this does help get some of the man-made structures, the buildings and things like that maintained, that can provide some scenic quality.
Yeah. I think 25A is not applicable.
Right. We're not dealing with the
I mean,
views.
yeah, right. And the same thing for
Uh,
both 25A and B.
hmm I agree. We know 26 is not applicable. Number 27 is not applicable.
Right.
This is not dealing with major energy facilities. And if something like that were to come before us in terms of like cannabis cultivation in the warehouse, that would be something that would have to be addressed individually anyway.
But that's a different ordinance.
And
So,
that's a different ordinance.
yeah.
That is a different ordinance. Um, Number 28 and 29, we know are not applicable. Number 30, I think this is where we were starting to get into some of the questioning, Nick, that we were bringing up at the start of the meeting about like air quality, how we would measure some of this. Um, where
The
was it?
one
Municipal, which
place,
one? Mhm.
I was going to say, the one place where this ordinance has some connection to number 30 is the requirement that all cannabis waste products be, I forget, not just thrown out. Um,
Right. They have to be properly disposed of. I saw that
right,
in the update that
right, right,
in
right,
it that they cannot just be put into the regular garbage. So that does
right.
help with, yeah.
But essentially, this is not applicable because I think they're talking about larger scale discharge of pollutants.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing coming out of these little retail shops in terms
Yeah.
of any discharge or emissions or anything that's any different than any other retail front.
So I guess the same would be said for number 31.
Yeah. Plus 31, we're not talking about water
Right.
quality standards or anything. Just
Number 32, we know is not applicable. Number 33, in this case, because we're only really dealing with the regulation review and not an actual project. In this case, I would say is not applicable, as well as 34
mhm,
and 34A,
yeah. And
uh,
35,
35 and
36,
36,
37,
37. These aren't grow operations, so there shouldn't be any excess nutrients being applied.
38.
38 is not applicable. I know 39,
I
I would say
I
it's
think that,
applicable and that it's consistent. Sorry. Because I'm thinking of the disposal of the solid waste, that it is addressed in the ordinance and that there's specific language to that. So I would say that that is consistent.
Hazardous waste is really what they're talking about here, but
Yeah. Yeah. Hazardous
yeah,
waste. Yeah. Number 40 is not applicable. This is not
correct.
electric generating. Number 41, land use or development in the coastal area will not cause national or state air quality standards to be violated. I would
Again,
say it's consistent, but
well,
go ahead.
I think from my standpoint, though, I think it's again not applicable in the sense because the ordinance doesn't actually talk about development or the creation of any new structures or any changes to the land or the contours or anything. It's just, can you put a cannabis dispensary into a building? And then the building would get reviewed under a totally different process. That's from my standpoint. So I would say it's not applicable because it's really not land use or development.
Number 42, coastal management policies would be considered if the state reclassifies land areas pursuant to the prevention of significant deterioration. I believe this would be not applicable. Who knows what the Federal Clean Air Act is even going to say at this point now.
Right.
Number 43 is not applicable. We're not dealing with anything that is going to be a precursor to acid rain, as far as I am aware. And number 44, I would say is not applicable.
Okay.
All right. We made it in time for 8 for you, Jen.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I'm not here to able to stay for the tree for the tree discussion. It was great to see you
Honestly, I
all.
don't know if he's going to be here. If he is, so we might not even be talking about it tonight. So you
Okay.
won't miss anything.
All
All right.
right.
Thank you,
Take care.
Jen. Bye.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Okay. And I know a lot of these we will have to review again anyway, if a project comes before us. But in terms of like what we're putting in term for language, I think this is really, really good for helping to clarify.
Mhm.
And now that it's been going on long enough, we could say that we've learned by watching other people do the trial and error first.
All right. So Valerie, do you have what you need to close this out, or is there a next step for the EAC?
For the LWRP, no, we're good. That was it.
Okay, awesome.
Yay!
Because I can send because I know Kate, like I know sometimes you send a memo, but I'm happy to I know you're very busy. I'm happy just to let the board know that, there was, you recommended it, and I
Mhm.
can send the attachment, the LWRP checklist to the board.
Wonderful.
You know,
Yeah.
usually it's
And I'm
it's
happy to
better to
answer
have
any
your
questions.
yeah, it's better to, I mean, it's
Yeah.
good to have your comments when there's like real discussion or if there's specific recommendations. But I think
Mhm.
in with this particular one there wasn't, so I think it's just a simple, I'll pass it along and let them know
Awesome.
that.
Okay. Yeah, and if they have any questions or want to have follow-up conversation, I'm more than happy to schedule some time to do
Yes,
so.
we appreciate it.
All right. All right. Does anybody have any other stuff they might want to bring up? Earthly planning,
Do
maybe? Okay.
Natalie, what do we want to do about the tree? I mean, I know that clearly the owners knew that they were in front of the EAC. They had to submit all the information to Jamie.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I think if the board assembled wants to discuss it, they're welcome, or we could just bump them till next month and tell them, sorry, but we have a no-show policy and we'll see you
Yeah.
in March.
What I found um, concerning or curious is that what I saw attached to the agenda was really only one, was the letter stating that he wanted to take them down because he thought they were diseased or might fall in the house, and then the plan. But I didn't see any documentation that they were diseased, which I think the ordinance does require, or any plan for how those would be replaced, which again the ordinance requires. So it didn't look like it was fully fleshed out enough to really be accepted.
Unless there were more materials that didn't make it through to the
Yeah, yeah,
to the
that's possible.
no, you
Yeah.
have
I think it's just this, right? The
Right.
application.
Yeah, that's all I
Yeah,
The
have.
picture.
yeah,
Sure.
those are the trees. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no discussion of how they would be replaced.
Is what's the is there an online submittal set up for the tree removal permit uh, already, or no? Like based on the updated ordinance requirements?
So, so this particular, there is a tree removal permit. This particular site already had some trees removed, without they removed them before they received the permit. So the building department was dealing with that.
Hmm.
And then they identified that they wanted to remove 10 other trees. And then at that point, that falls under your clear cutting definition, and it
Mhm.
requires a recommendation from the EAC.
Yeah,
And
so I
that
guess
does require that they would have to either pay into the tree bank if they're not going to replace the trees or
Let
come up with
me
some sort of plan. Right?
let me pull that up. So for so all So for restoration or replacement of damaged trees, so all persons who remove or cause to remove trees with or without a tree removal permit as required shall restore the area, and let's see, and debris and covering. It says, hold on.
do you want a screen share maybe?
Yeah, I can. I'm just trying to find the correct section.
Right.
Okay, so we have, let me just share my screen. So there's a couple places where so tree replacement is required when there's ever is for site plan and subdivision applications, trees that get removed need to be replaced. And I believe tree replacement is also required um as part of like penalties, so that if for some reason somebody does take down trees, that those could be required at that point. For clear cutting purposes, let me just pull that up here. All right. So clear cutting is removing 5 or more trees with a 6-inch DBH. And so as part of the regulated activities, a tree removal permit is required for clear cutting. And then we specifically recommend then you have to
There was a certain ratio I think that we had requested.
And if you notice, it includes a description of the anticipated vegetative cover, a lot of
right.
information
Yeah.
about what's there and what's going back in, and none of it was provided.
I think right. So I think part of this is, and let me just find the where you get referred to. So there's additional information that's required as part of the clear cutting. But then for the approving authority, all tree removal applications calling for clear cutting shall be referred to the building inspector to the EAC for recommendation. The EAC shall submit a recommendation to the building inspector within 35 days of referral. If no recommendation is provided within 35 days of the referral, the building inspector shall assume the EAC has no objections to the tree removal permit. The EAC may request an extension of time to provide written recommendations. So I think the issue is whether you find that this is, necessary, the tree removal, like the reasons behind it, you can ask the questions of whether they're going to replace, you can even make recommendations for replacement. So these are all things that you can do. It's not mandatory that they have to replace, but it can be, you know, replacement can be recommended. Does That's why it's helpful having the applicant here so they can explain what it is their reasoning is behind
Right.
it.
I mean, it doesn't sound like, they're concerned about the health and safety of the tree or their house and property, and which I don't know. That doesn't seem like they're treating this as like an emergency situation per se, but having a little bit of evidence to
Right.
demonstrate that there's disease to the tree or whatever they're claiming
Yeah.
beyond a
Yeah,
picture from 40 feet
It
away.
also sounds like they've set a precedence of how they want to behave with tree removal
Right.
already.
Or they didn't know
Um,
there was I mean that's probably pretty common, right? They did something, they took an action before they knew there was, or maybe not, I don't know.
mhm.
Right. And then under for the issuance of a tree removal permit, here it says, any tree removal may include conditions imposed by the approving authority consistent with this chapter. Such conditions may include, and this is where it says requiring the planting of an equal or greater number of trees or similar
Mhm.
species as those removed. So I think it really comes down to my recommendation is what I've seen working with other communities and other environmental, because I know this is a new, like, it is new to some extent, this law and the process, but it's really kind of, especially with clear cutting, is to figure out like what are the reasons, why are they coming down, and then does it make sense to plant something else or to replant somewhere else on the site, or maybe there's a reason that those trees need to come down and it makes sense for those to be removed.
Then
but
maybe
I'm
we should bump
noticing
them to
here.
March. Oh, did I lose you again?
Oh,
Um, we had you, but then you jinxed it. No.
Yeah.
here you are.
Am I
I'm,
back?
yeah, I'm also looking at paragraph B under issuance where it says the um the applicant's plan for um tree replacement shall satisfy no less than the minimum requirement to replace 50% of the total aggregate. It basically says shall.
Well, that's
Um,
for site plan and subdivision
okay,
applications.
okay,
So I have a question. Valerie, since these folks have now submitted a tree removal application, basically, for the EAC members' benefit, we're collecting money to basically have the building department take a look at the application, but also cover the fee for our arborist to go out and look. Um, Valerie, do you happen to know if Jean has been tapped in on this or not?
No, I do not, I mean, I don't believe so at this point, and so this might be something else that the EAC might want to recommend, and that we can have that person come out. So if there are specific, because I can even take a couple notes to specifically refer to the arborist or certain concerns that you have. Like it sounds like maybe should tree replacement be considered, right? That sounds like a question.
right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The other question that I have is the justification that the homeowner is given is that the trees are diseased or
Right.
are failing to thrive. That is a subjective judgment on his or her part
Right.
without any expertise to make that decision. And I think
Absolutely.
we highly recommend that the arborist be part of that conversation because it needs to have an expert opinion.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
unless they are an expert, we just don't know, but they need to identify that then. But
but
Yeah.
that would, I think, in that case also be a conflict of interest in
sure,
terms of
sure, yeah, yeah.
How
submitting
would it
your
be?
own paperwork for, but we
Yeah.
did put in the ordinance that it would be required that there would have to be
Yes,
some sort of a professional that goes out and looks at it, whether it would be the village
Yeah.
arborist or that they were hiring somebody who was a licensed person. But we needed to have that in writing.
Yeah.
right.
Right.
So if anything, we can't
Yeah. No, something
even give
official.
them an answer without
Yeah,
having
and
someone
Right.
look at it.
And just for a little bit of context, so what we require for the building department is in the event that someone has an emergency tree removal, they can submit a
Mhm.
letter within a very short window from a certified arborist that has all the arborist credentials and an identification number saying, yes, in fact, I was on site, I saw the condition of the tree, it was thus, here are some pictures. So I don't recall exactly who said it, but the question about having an arborist on behalf of the applicant submit something, that is something that we do with a fair amount of regularity. But I
Yeah.
think because they've already paid to do a tree removal permit, they've already basically paid for the village to do that.
Yeah,
So we can have
yeah,
our consulting arborist do that if that's what the EAC recommends.
So,
yes,
I mean, I guess in that case, if it were just that aspect, we would say like, oh, conditionally of the arborist confirming the conditions there, then you are good to go forward with this for the AC. But obviously, we have all these other things that
Yeah.
are related.
And I think embedded in this ordinance, and the whole idea of the ordinance is that trees are a positive good for the community, and that by clear cutting a site, the home and this I may be misinterpreting this, but the homeowner is reducing this positive good to the community, and there needs to have a very well documented rationale for doing this, and that it can be mitigated by replanting trees either on site if possible or in another place. So, it may be a change in mindset for a lot of people, but that's really what this ordinance is designed to encourage.
And I don't know if I don't think I saw it in the package that was submitted, but did they talk about what types of trees these were? Or
Not
no?
a
Oh,
word. They're trees. They're dead trees.
Yeah, well, that
And the
matters
picture,
too, what kind of trees they are.
yeah, the picture was
Yes.
yeah,
taken in the dead of winter.
yeah,
Right.
they and I'm even looking at the general notes. They don't have anything in the general notes to say um the trees. I mean, I'm not a tree expert in being able to identify trees just based on the trunk and the branches, so I couldn't tell you. But
Well,
there's
it
nothing
lots of
that was
leaves, so I know
submitted.
it's not some. No, sorry. Oh, I thought I was on mute.
Yeah.
So I don't, yeah, they didn't submit anything as far as the types of trees that they are, what, are they invasive? Well, not that they might know if they're invasive or not, but, there's nothing, it's just pictures.
All right. Well, the arborist will certainly include that in her analysis. I don't know, what sort of formal recommendation needs to be made, but it sounds like Valerie, you have an idea of how we need to communicate this to Jean.
Yeah, and then I'll copy you, Kate, on
Okay.
the correspondence, and I'll copy Joe Agnostinelli who's the the building inspector, just to make sure that they're aware that there's additional information that's necessary. And so would I be correct to say right now you're recommending not to give the tree removal permit until this information is submitted?
Right.
That is correct.
Okay. And then would you like to see this? I assume you want this back on your agenda for next month.
Yes, yes. I was actually going to say, I think, it definitely should come back next month so that we can look at the extra paperwork.
Well, if they've got everything together, I guess. I mean, not just dragging a
Yeah,
week.
assuming they get it together and
Right, assuming they get it
yeah.
together, right. I mean, I'm almost like, I have to look it up, but I'm almost positive that we worked with, Jamie and I worked with the building department to make sure that they understood that they had to submit what information they need to submit in this section of the code. And that's what they submitted. So we were kind of hoping that they would be here tonight so that you could have those additional questions, or maybe they had somebody else to be able to answer your questions, but all right.
Next time. All right. In that case, does anybody have any other things to bring up for tonight?
I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Did you, Kate?
All right. No, I don't. I was gonna say you feel, we're doing Earth Day planning. So if anybody, is interested in coming out, but other than that, no.
We'll circle back.
It was
Yeah,
good.
we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Another time. Next week. All right, guys. So I guess we are adjourned for the Environmental Advisory Council meeting for February 3rd, 2026. And I will see everyone next month.
Um,
Oh,
I'm having some rather serious foot surgery on the 26th of February,
Oh boy.
and will be I'm flat on my back for 3 weeks with my foot elevated, taking heavy duty pain pills. So it's possible I may be able to attend. I don't know if I can say anything on the first first Tuesday, but I'll do my best. And if I can't be there, I'll let you know.
Well, it might be
Okay,
some
great.
interesting conversation you can bring to the table.
It might be.
And another thing about trees.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
Redwoods
All
are
right,
older
so
than dinosaurs.
Right.
All right. Well, good luck,
all
Katie.
right.
Wishes for
Thank
an easy
you.
recovery.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good luck.
Good night, everybody.
All right,
Good
good night.
night.
Bye-bye.
See you
Bye.
next month.
Bye.